What's going on, everyone? I'm Travis Brown with the Eagle, alongside our buddy Mark French, former Texas A&M basketball player, to break down all things A&M basketball as they get coming close to hitting the halfway point through conference play. Had that 5-game win streak snapped at Kentucky and are moving forward from that. Mark, first off, how's it going, man?
Going good, Travis. Good to see you this morning.
Good to see you too. Uh, let's start right off with the Kentucky game because it was a game where if you look at the numbers, they probably shouldn't have been in it as strong as they were, but they stayed close throughout the game. Kentucky, I think from the observer who watched the game, you'll say it's all about the 3-point makes. But let's start there because I know with Buzz's defense and the way that it's run, they're gonna want other teams to shoot more threes than they're normally accustomed to. That was a little bit exacerbated by the fact that they had to double Oscar Tshiebwe, the defending National Player of the Year, down in the post, and they were hitting threes. Defensively, how does Buzz's defense account for a matchup like Kentucky where you have a dominant player down low like that, but also you need to defend the three?
Yeah, it's tough, right? When the other team has a talent like that, and then you layer that with loads of shooting around them. It makes it really difficult. Everyone says pick your poison. Buzz would probably disagree with that. He'd say, "Oh, we got to come up with a game plan to scheme against everything." I thought first half was really good. I thought we let Reeves get going. He ended up with 5 threes. I think it's a balance, right? Because sometimes I'm of the opinion, let the best guy get his, and then eliminate everybody else. But when you're on the road, you probably do want to isolate the best player and make him the focal point. The issue is we let the guys around him beat us. And that's probably what you want to do. You tip your hat to them, said, "Hey, y'all made 11 threes. We only made 3. They shot 18 more field goals than us. They had 13 more offensive rebounds. There were other reasons we lost besides Kentucky's shooting, although it definitely played a role, And I think on a going forward, you feel pretty good about how you played in a big-time environment on a national TV stage. You knew that your bench production was probably going to be a little less. A guy like Hefner's a perfect example. This is for the viewers at home. Been playing great at home, right? Well, you go play in front of 23,000 people on a Saturday afternoon on ESPN. What happens? 0 points, 0 assists, 1 rebound, no shots. And that's not a knock on Hefner. He's still a sophomore now? A redshirt sophomore, maybe?
Is 2 years
but it's
left.
Yeah. So it's not a knock on him, but it's indicative of what happens when you go on the road. The math can change a little bit. So yeah, I think we did an awesome job on Tshiebwe. Look, he had 38 points the game before we played him, and we held him to 7 on 3 of 5 shooting. So I don't have any. I'm not going to be nitpicky of the game plan. I thought it was actually really good, and after the under 4 media timeout, we had opportunities to win that game, and we didn't execute on offense. I felt like we panicked a little bit, and that's a learning curve. You got to go through some of that. But I'm sure they're looking at the film and probably, a little frustrated because there were opportunities there to win that game, and we went toe to toe with them. So hopefully they use it as a learning curve. Another test tonight, right? I'm not sure when this is getting released, but we play Auburn. We're filming at 10:15 on a Wednesday. So Auburn later tonight, you get a very similar test. So we'll see if they've progressed.
I'm trying to think back. Did you get a chance to play at Rupp when you were playing? What is that experience like?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think we played there my senior year. We didn't play. So the year I was really playing a lot of minutes, we didn't go play there. But I went there. I think we went 3 times. The first time was we played De'Aaron Fox and Bam Adebayo and Malik Monk, and we got blasted. they played really well that night. I mean, it's just phenomenal. I mean, outside of Kansas, it's the best place I went to and got to play at. Kansas and Gonzaga were really cool, but Kentucky's up there, man. It's a really special place, and you just think about that 23,000 people there to watch a college basketball game. Um, it's an awesome environment, and those are the games you want to play in, right? You want to go to those places and go try to win those games. That's what it's all about. So I'm glad we didn't have stage fright though. We went toe to toe with them, and I love seeing Marble stand up to Shwebue. I hope we get them. I don't think we play them the rest of the year, but I hope we get him in the SEC tournament and Marble gets another crack at him because frankly he got the best of him. So that was fun to watch.
Yeah, that was kind of a fun old school basketball physical type game, and I think the environment, the crowd played into it a little bit.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I think some of it was Oscar being frustrated because our game plan was so good, and then another layer to that was Marble being a little bit of an instigator. Although Sheboy is the one who threw the elbow, so I don't understand how that was not a flagrant two when he looked back at him and then gave him the elbow. I need to have a word with Greg Sankey, I guess. But anyways, I don't know if I agreed with some of the calls down the stretch. I think they had a Kentucky bend to them, but you're going to get that when you're on the road. And frankly, we have no bone to pick because we got absolutely crushed on our defensive glass, their offensive glass. Just absolutely, they bullied us in that realm. So overall, I think there's a lot to build on. It is frustrating though because you're right there, and that is a high quad one win by the end of the year, and they need to start stacking some of those. You can't just beat the bottom half of the league and expect to get in. You got to go win some of these top 25 matchups.
Right. Well, before we get into that and kind of look into the future, it's been a couple weeks since we've talked. What have you seen from this team that helped generate that 5-game win streak? What kind of turned around, and what did you like, and frankly, even some in that Kentucky game, like from the team that has got them rolling a little bit?
I like that we got away from a Wade Taylor centric offensive identity, I guess. And we had more guys come in and contribute. Boots looks like his old self. I told y'all that. Those guys like that are in their 5th year that have played on a big stage and won a lot. They yearn to get back to conference play when the lights are the brightest. And I think Boots is back. The biggest thing though is the emergence of the 2 transfers. So Dexter Dennis, the other night, 2 games ago, I think he had 16 rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
He's been absolutely phenomenal, shooting the ball really well. And then Marble, arguably our best player right now. I could make the case if you wanted me to. Maybe if not the best, the most important. Mm-hmm. Because I think there's a calmness that comes over the team when he's playing well. And so I feel really comfortable with Julius Marble going into any game right now. Dennis is still a little bit of a wild card to me, but he's been really consistent. And another guy that, all right, we're at conference play. It's kind of go time now. And we're not playing in a 3/4 empty Dickies Arena on a Saturday afternoon at 4 p.m. against Boise State. It's like we're at Rupp. It's time to go. And I think it's attracted the best. It's extracted the best out of all those guys, which is exciting. So I think the emergence of Dexter Dennis and then the solidifying of Julius Marble as one of our, kind of cornerstone guys, that's what led to the 5-game win streak. And I'll also, if I were to analyze it in a fair way, Missouri's a good win. The other teams, we'll see how good they turn out to be. A&M has to keep progressing. You can't look at it and say, oh, we're 5-1. We're all that, because the reality is some of those teams could finish in the bottom half of the conference. And you have a very back-heavy schedule where you have to keep improving if you want to have a chance to get to 13-5 or 12-6, like we talked about, and find your way into the tournament. But if they are just okay with where they're at, they won't make it in the tournament. They'll lose, some of these games coming up. So hopefully they keep progressing. There's a lot of talent to work with, and I think roles are really coming into form. I mean, heck, we almost had 5 guys scoring double figures from our starting lineup, Travis. So a lot of balance. I really like where they're at. That's in summary. I really like where they're at.
One guy that I pointed out was a big miss during that game, especially with defending Sheboy and rebounding, is Solomon Washington. And of course, he was out with concussion protocol for that Kentucky game. What from a rebounding and a defensive standpoint, what have you seen from Washington so far, in your opinion, and how he can help and how he's fit into his role?
Yeah. So everybody knows I'm a huge Solo fan because I see what he can become. I think for him, it's not even about stat sheet stuff. It's contesting 3-pointers. Like there's a lot of times in the last few games where he's the last rotation to the corner and his length, he's jumping darn near from the box on the free throw line. His length is, he may not block it, but he's getting in the guy's vision to where he misses that corner three. He's also a guy that got a little crap in his neck. He's not going to take crap from anyone. And you need that edginess in a game like Kentucky. And he would have been a nice body to be able to throw out there and say, hey, you're just as good, if not a better athlete than Kentucky's loaded roster. Just go be an athlete. Like, don't worry about the offensive end Solo. Like, seriously, like hit the offensive boards. That's all we need you to do. But just like go affect the game on the defensive end. And he would have been nice to have. The other thing is Manny Obaseki, the former 5-star who is out for another month or so, I think. That's a big, big deal in a game like that where they're throwing waves of athletes at you. We had a little bit of a drop off. Think about the only 3 guys on the bench that played were Garcia, Hefner, Gordon. None of those guys scream elite athlete. And so if instead of Garcia, Gordon, and Hefner, we could add Solo, and we could add who was I just talking about?
A basket.
Manny. You add Manny and Solo to that mix, and it's like, okay, now we're matching athlete for athlete. In a game like Saturday, Manny probably goes to get 6 to 8 points, and could have been the difference in the game, right? And so that's a key piece to remember too.
Yeah. So moving forward tonight, Auburn, Vanderbilt coming up. Auburn coming up again in that mirror game. You mentioned need to start stacking some quad one wins. As a player, what is it like doing the back-to-back road trip, and when you know that the meat of your schedule is coming up?
Yeah, I mean, I love road trips. I think there's you're allowed to kind of block everything out, and like you almost get tunnel vision just on that day. A lot of times you don't have to worry about school. You'll do that the day before, and then day of you can just everything's about the game. They'll have a shoot around, nap time, pregame meal, and then you get ready to go to the arena. And so I loved road games as a player. I think especially in a big time environment like that, it's fun. That's why you play, right? That being said, they need to go get this one tonight. Auburn's number 15 in the country, right? And so you go get that one. You continue to establish yourself as the top quarter of the SEC. And that's very, very important optics-wise for guys like Joe Lenardi and ESPN bracketologists and all this stuff. Perception is really important. And you go win at Auburn, you keep this train rolling. And so that's what I think is most important as a player is for them to understand, all right, yes, we could lose this game and in theory still get into the tournament. But at some point, we got to bust the door down and say, we're here to stay. And, these 50-50 games in my mind right now, like at Arkansas versus Georgia, Auburn at home, at LSU versus Arkansas, at Missouri, like those are like 50-50 games in my mind right now. You go win at Auburn, and then it's like, okay, I feel like 60 to 70% of the time, it's almost like a 60-40, 70-30 now. I think it's really important. You don't want to lose 2 in a row, and then the pressure's on versus Vandy. I think they're gettable. They're not great this year. They're good. I don't think there is just oozing with talent as some of the past Auburn teams. Um, so it's a heck of an opportunity.
And we're going to talk about how important these quad one wins are, but almost even more important is taking care of business against teams like Vanderbilt, your quad three, quad two games, because those will hurt you more than losing a quad one game, especially with how many more quad one games they have coming down the stretch as well.
Yeah, I mean you can't. I mean, you look back at it. If we don't get into the tournament, it'll be because of the quad two, quad three. It won't be because of the quad one win. Lack of quad one wins. It'll be because of the quad two and three losses. And you look at it. Boise State. Here's something for the listeners. Boise State's actually top 50 in the like the rankings or whatever, the advanced metrics. They're top 40, top 50. That's a good team. They're a mature team. It just sounds bad on paper. Um, but you look at it, the Wofford loss at home, um, Murray State and Colorado back to back in Myrtle Beach. Um, it's hard to overcome, man, because you got to think about the other teams the committee's going to be looking at, and they're going to say, well, did that team lose to Wofford at home, or a Colorado team, or a Murray State team with year one of a new coach? Like, it's going to be concerning for them, and you have to overwhelm them with new evidence of who you are. And so, yeah, you got to take care of business versus Vanderbilt, versus Georgia. Georgia's playing well right now. Mike White came over from Florida, has been playing well. You got to take care of those games. I kind of broke it down, Travis, right? So we've been doing this throughout the season. What's the breakdown? How do we get to 13-5 or 12-6, right? And so I actually roped off Kentucky and Auburn as a 2-game segment in which we needed to go 1-1. That's still on the table. After that, versus Vanderbilt, at Arkansas, versus Georgia, versus Auburn. This is the swing, in my opinion. You can go 3-1 or you can go 2-2 there. And that may be the difference between 13-5 or 12-6. And so that's kind of the next 5. After that, it gets a little muddy because at LSU, tough place. We never win at their place for whatever reason. Versus Arkansas, at a good Missouri team, versus number 4 Tennessee. I roped off. I said we need to go 2-2 in that stretch. And then at Mississippi State, at Ole Miss, versus number 2 in the country, Alabama, I had 2-1. That would get you to 13-5. If you go 2-2 in the stretch, the 4-game stretch after Auburn, you may be looking at 12-6. But the games are going to fly by. That's what I'm trying to get people to realize is, this time next week, we'll have already played the Arkansas game. So in the next 7 days, they have 3 games. And you really need to be 2-1 in that stretch if we're going to be serious about making the tournament in March.
For sure. Mark, thanks so much, man. Another great chat breaking down everything going on. We'll, of course, have Mark back on here soon to take another peek at what's going on with A&M basketball. Mark, thanks so much, man. And we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, Travis. Thank you.